everyone, welcome back, and this is Fantasy Girl back and ready to discuss another theory that's been going around recently involving Endwalker. So if you remember from my last video, we discussed the possibility that the woman in white that we saw at the end of 5.55 is none other than Venat, the heart of Hydaelyn. I had planned on doing a video on Charlian right after that one, but after hearing this theory, I knew I had to do this one first. So the theory is that there is a possible connection between Venat and the seemingly mentally unstable Fandaniel, who seems to be set on the idea of destroying the world. How could there be such a possible connection between these two when they are supposed to be on opposing sides, assuming that we are correct in the fact that the woman in white is Venat? Well, today we're going to be discussing that. Oh, Fandaniel, we've only had a little bit of screen time with you, but you seem set on stealing the spotlight. And for those of you who do watch my prediction or theory videos, then you should probably know that I've already discussed Fandaniel before, so if you want to watch that video on what I personally think about Fandaniel and what his possible plan might be, please check it out here. Unlike the other Ascians, Fandaniel doesn't seem to have any kind of love or loyalty to Zodiark. In fact, he stated that rather than seeing the world restored to how it was before the Sundering, he wants to annihilate the source completely, if not all the shards as well. Now, it is for this reason that he goes to the trouble of appearing before Xenos, after stealing the body of Ashahi, and has been helping him plan out the stage for what he calls the final days by Take 2. Just from the looks of things, this seems to have been a plan that was in the making for a very long time. It looks like it was already set in motion even before realizing that Elidibus was destroyed by the Warrior of Light. But that seems to have made him even more dangerous because he no longer needs to worry about his other remaining Ascian mates putting a stop to his plans, whatever they truly are. Ever since his first appearance before the Alliance, he's become like the #1 threat to the world, such as the ones who created these towers all across the continent, and he's been leading armies to capture beastmen to force them to continue summoning lunar forms of their gods for the sake of this plan. We still don't know what exactly his plan is, or exactly what the steps are to get him to that point, other than the fact that aside from a few hiccups mostly involving the Warrior of Light, everything seems to be running smoothly, or at least on course to where he wants it to go. Yoshi P did state before that Fandaniel is going to be playing a big role in Endwalker, but neither he nor Xenos is going to end up being the final boss. However, he is hiding a big dark secret, and he will soon be made into a much more complicated character than we first thought, and this will be playing an important role later on. That's really all we know for sure about him. But what will this role be? Not sure yet, but the big question here is wondering just what his reasons for wanting to destroy the world, and does it possibly tie back in with Venat, who was the one who originally became Hydaelyn's heart? Well, we have a few clues that directly back up that possible relationship between the two of them, and we're going to go over the ones that we know, and maybe we're just putting on our tinfoil hats and just picking up static from most of this, or maybe we're just making wild guesswork and seeing clues that aren't really supposed to be there. But we'll do our best to go ahead and see what we can find. So first off, let's start off with his name, Fandaniel. So Fandaniel, for you out there who aren't fans of Final Fantasy XII, is actually the name of one of the Scions of Light, much like how the other Ascian names are. His astrology mark is also Leo the Lion, while his Scion of Darkness is known as Hashmal, Bringer of Order. As is common with the Ascians, Fandaniel can also conjure a unique red emblem in front of his face. This is actually shown to be based on Hamal's glyph. So, now that he's come out and admitted to any who would listen that his wish is for absolute destruction of the world, or of every living cell to be eradicated from the world, including himself, I find that all to be rather interesting. Now, granted, I do love the sympathetic villains. MXL, for one, probably my favorite Final Fantasy villain that we've had. I even don't want to use the word villain, antagonist. he was such a good character. He had so much depth to him. They really went all out for Mxelk, and like I said, I do love having the sympathetic antagonist. However, every once in a while, it is nice to have maybe someone who is so bloodthirsty, just bent on carnage, that they really do just want to destroy the world. And I guess that's kind of why I like Zeno. So I do find him a little bit annoying here and there, especially since he really hasn't done too much in the last few patches other than, you know, just killing his father and then just been sitting on the throne waiting. But when you look at characters like the Joker from Batman, I love those characters because they're just destructive for the sake of destruction. The living embodiment of pure destruction. Not every antagonist, I guess, has to be having a tragic backstory or something like that. However, the thing is, Fandaniel doesn't seem to be like that. At least, not completely. There's definitely a lot of craziness in there, like with Kefka, but at the same time, there seems to be a lot more. I've said this before in my other video about him, but we have an immortal who wants to destroy the world, including himself. That there is very interesting if you really think about it. And there is a lot of potential there to have just a really good story, like a really good background to that. Fandaniel himself seems to be a lot more complicated than he's initially giving off. In a lot of stories, we do have these villains that want to destroy the world. However, what that actually means is they want to destroy the world as it is right now. They want to tear down the old rules and just put up their brand new rules. They want to build up the world into how they think it should be with them at the top. This here is not that. Fandaniel has come right out and said that he wants everything, including himself, to be destroyed. This has one or two causes generally. Either he doesn't believe there is any worth in this world and he believes that there's no hope for it, much like Kefka from Final Fantasy VI, or that he just doesn't want to keep living in this world, but he doesn't want the rest of the world to move on without him, much like Kuja from Final Fantasy IX. I'm sure that Fandaniel is like a therapist's dream come true. But I'm getting off topic here. It's just that when I think about Fandaniel, I remember this one line that he used with Xenos. When he first met up with Xenos, he referred to himself as becoming a hunting dog. At first I thought that he was offering himself to Xenos to become like his servant, like his so-called hunting pet to kind of do his bidding. But that changed when I look up more information on Venat. Now, I was always aware that Venat was named after the godlike being inside of Final Fantasy XII. But this here is really interesting because Venat is actually a Latin word for venari, which means to hunt. And if Venat is to hunt, such as hunting down darkness and destroying it, does that mean that Fandaniel is their hunting dog? Also, in ancient Persian mythology, Venat is one of 4 royal stars with the name of Regulus, which just happens to be the brightest star in the constellation of Leo. Regulus, also known as Venat, is part of a very special star pattern in this Leo constellation, which is sometimes referred to as a sickle, which you can commonly call it a scythe, the same weapon that's made an appearance by the end of 5.55, just at the same time the woman in white appears. And of course, what is the importance of the sign of Leo? That is the same astrology sign as Hubsmal, or in other words, Fandaniel. So that there is a very special connection. Now the thing is with the dev team, they don't do things by accident. They think out every little detail. And even if they put in a detail now that they don't really think too much about it, or they don't see it as too important to put it in, they often find a way to kind of reuse or reference that back later on. And such one of these things is, I don't know if this means much by it, but when we first see Fandaniel, he appears before Xenos dressed all in white, much like the robes that the woman in white was wearing. But still, despite the fact that there seems to be a connection, what is the real connection? Was it possible that they knew each other during the final days or before the final days? Were they friends or family? Were they possibly lovers in like this ancient past, and when Fandaniel learned that she sacrificed herself, it would explain why he has this desire to destroy everything, especially since he does seem to have he has no loyalty. especially since he's clearly made it known that he doesn't care about Zodiark. He's even offered to help Xenos hunt Zodiark down for whatever reason. And if he has chosen to become her hunting dog, what else could they be planning here? What is their endgame? Because I doubt that Venat would willingly wish to see the world destroyed. She even made a point to warn the Warrior of Light that darkness was coming and the fate of this world was in her hands. In all honesty, I don't want to believe that Hydaelyn is evil, but at the same time, I can't say that Zodiark is evil either. I think that they are how they are because that is their nature from their creation. Even Yoshi P stated that Hydaelyn and Zodiark aren't good or evil. And especially from what we learned in Shadowbringers, light isn't always good either. Still, it leads to wonder, what is their other connections? Are the two of them secretly working together? Is Venat still serving the will of Hydaelyn, or is this her own wishes? Are the two really one and the same, or is it possible that Hydaelyn and Venat are separate and they have their own separate desires, and maybe Venat is just acting out on what she thinks is best, regardless of what Hydaelyn wants? Another thing is that MXL seems to come out and admit that the convocation was tempered by Zodiark, but Fandaniel doesn't have the same kind of devotion that we've seen from the others. Is it possible that he is tempered in a way, but not by Zodiark? But maybe by Venat or even by Hydaelyn herself? And when you think about the previous interactions with Hydaelyn, she always says kind of the same thing essentially. Stop or banish the darkness or all is lost. Now, that makes a lot of sense because that basically was her function. That was the reason she was created. She was created to bind the darkness and keep it in check, or other words, to kind of bind Zodiark. During Fandaniel's first interaction with Xenos, he says, "For I know full well the prey you would seek next, Zodiark." And so he's offering to help him. In regards to banishing the darkness, it makes sense for Fandaniel to be in league with Hydaelyn and Venat, and if they're both working to have Zodiark removed, Fandaniel through Xenos and Hydaelyn or Venat working through with the Warrior of Light, that would all kind of add up. So if the two of them are secretly in league with each other, they seem to be using the two most powerful warriors that we've got in existence here, at least on these continents, if not in this entire world, kind of being manipulated. The thing is, though, if that is the case, Xenos seems to be perfectly aware of what Fandaniel is doing. He just doesn't care. He just wants what he's promised, that he will get a rematch with the Warrior of Light. The Warrior of Light, however, still doesn't know anything about Venat, or if this even is Venat. They have not heard Hydaelyn speak to them for a very long time, and so they're kind of lacking on guidance at this point. And especially after seeing everything that happened on the first, especially with the other Warriors of Light with the first, like with Oddbirds, I don't think that they would be too willing to kind of serve the light again after everything that they experienced. Maybe Venat is aware of this fact and is slowly trying to reach out to them again, trying to kind of rope them back into helping them as they were before. I have several theories onto the reasons why they specifically chose the Warrior of Light. I actually have a very interesting theory about Charlian being tied into with Venat and Fandaniel and what their possible endgame could be, or their possible plan for surviving the final days could mean. But I will be talking all about that in my next video, which is going to be all about Charlian. But I will say this, if Venat and Fandaniel do have this kind of working together relationship kind of secret from everyone else, I have to admit they're doing a pretty good job of hiding it. We don't know what their plan is or what it could mean after Zodiark is gone, but of course we do know that the lack of balance between light and dark will be a bad thing, which might further Fandaniel's own goal of killing everyone and everything, since we've already seen what light is capable of without the dark to keep it in check. So what should we think about this? I mean, should we really trust the woman in white? Should we really trust that person even if it does turn out to be Venat? Or should we just completely turn our backs on them? I mean, Yoshi P has also stated that Hydaelyn is not going to be the final boss either. However, that does not mean that her heart is necessarily out of the question. Well, I do think that things are going to be getting interesting pretty soon, even if it turns out that the woman really isn't Venat, though I do personally think she is. I am eager to see just what their connection truly means, and I'm truly interested to see what's going on in Fandaniel's head, since that seems to be like a messed up place to be. Anyway, everyone, that is my theory so far on the whole idea of Venat and Fandaniel's possible relationship. Again, we really don't know too much more information about either of them. We know very little about what Fandaniel is up to, and we know even less about Venat, and we don't even have it confirmed for us yet if she is Venat. But they will be playing a major role in the upcoming expansion. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen and exactly how this all unfolds. So I guess for right now, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please drop a subscribe down below. And if you have any kind of theories or suggestions on any kind of possible future videos on predictions or theories on what we could be getting for Endwalker, please drop a comment down below. I love to get it. I love to get new ideas all the time. But yeah, for right now, thanks again for watching, and this is Fantasy Girl signing out.